It's how's everyone doing today on this 21 December 2025? I'm hoping that each and every one of you uh, are hanging in and holding on, as we like to say around here, always knowing that no matter what the obstacle, the challenge, and or the noise is, please and always know that you are exquisite. I'm India E. I'm the founder of You Are Exquisite, author, journal designer, etc. And on this platform, we like to kind of take a breather, take an exhale, give ourselves a hug, and we tend to discuss issues that don't necessarily have a bright light shined on them. And today, what I wanted to deal with is the issue of overindulgence. Overindulgence, as we have seen so tragically in our nation, we are grappling with the loss of um, significant and tremendous figures and contributors to our nation's artistry and culture. Of course, the loss of Mr. Rob and Michelle Reiner, Mr. and Mrs. Reiner, and there was also the loss of the just brilliant and beautiful opera singer, Mr. Jubilant Sykes, as well. And these tragedies are just beyond horrific, and the entities that are following them are doing excellent work, and we will let them continue to do just that. What I wanted to deal with is the issue of overindulgence. And as I and let me read my own post here. Yes, as I wrote on my social media post, um, I opened it with a very common quote, two quotes actually. Uh, Quote, I did the best I could, and we gave that child everything. And I'm asking, have you ever uttered those words? I have. So this is an issue that is very interesting, and it tends not to come up until it has boiled over. And so I just, with everything that has been going on, I did some research as I tend to do, and I really just wanted to come here and just talk about it and just share some of it with you. Of course, this is always an open discussion. Um, I'd like to get your input, of course, on this, and if you have ever dealt with this, the the title of this podcast is in the form of a question. Can overindulgence of young and adult children equal abuse? And in the research that I am doing and have done, the answer to that question is a formidable yes. Now, I really just want to get into this and just talk about it. I don't have any answers other than what the research says. Parenting, as I have said and will continue to say, is the hardest gig on planet Earth. And for those who have nailed it, I commend you. And it is just a menagerie, if you will. So, from the research, can overindulgence of young and adult children result in abuse, the research says, quote, yes. And I'm just going to read it and we can chop it up as we go here, okay? Quote, yes, overindulgence of children and adult children can be abusive. It's often called, quote, neglect by excess, close quote, because it robs them of essential life skills, fostering entitlement, poor self control, and dependency, leading to lifelong struggles, while conversely, overindulged adult children can become abusive to parents through power and control tactics, creating complex family dynamics. Continuing, it's a paradox where giving, quote, too much, close quote, from a loving place actually hinders development and healthy boundaries, potentially creating adults unable to cope and or conversely abusers of abusers themselves. So this overindulgence issue, um, it is something that I I did not grow up being overindulged. Okay, so I grew up very meager. And so this was not a phenomenon that I am familiar with. However, you know how when you're an adult and you do come up meager, some might say poor, whatever you want to refer to it as. I'll use the term meager. You do come up meager, and I cannot tell you how many times I've heard this, like where like the parent wants their child to have what they didn't have. Like if you didn't have fill in the blank because you came up meager and resources were very limited and your people did the best they could with what they had. They took nothing and made something of it, and you compounded onto that, and you added and you developed and you educated yourself and elevated yourself and empowered yourself, and now you're in a position where you're making a little bit of money, you've got some stability, and you want to be able to provide your child or children with the tangible physical accoutrements that you might not have had. I mean, I know I have certainly heard this. Hello, Mason Maza. I have certainly heard this um, uh, too many times to count. And it's like I say in the post, it's like a natural evolution of parenthood. I mean, we're thinking, right? There's no rule books that come with this gig. You know, you're a parent. You know, hopefully you've got your partner. Sometimes, that tends to fall apart, and so you're out there, you're doing it on your own, and you're really navigating this energy with these human beings, your children, in the best way that you know how. And of course, you're leading from your heart. So, the heart wants to provide and give children what you might not have had. But how healthy is that? And can we examine that? Are we as a society of parents, are we mature enough within ourselves to become more self-aware of where we are in that ecosystem of heart and wanting and then healthy boundaries and not wanting to overindulge and not wanting to create a monster and on and on and on. Can we face that? Can we look at that? Can we put a bright light and lights on that and make us an assessment of our own awareness of that parental role, and then begin the process of self-correcting where need be, while also, of course, and every day, driving the car of parenthood. So there's a lot going on. But the issue of overindulgence in regards to, the little guys, and then they mature and become adult children, this is a very powerful energy. And it has obviously tangibility directly connected to it. So overindulgence, continuing with the research, and I just want to just share this. I'm doing research. I'm looking into this. I'm watching the horrific news and everything that's going on. And I'm like, wait a minute, like there's a through line here. And it appears just to me, this is just my opinion, but it appears to me that the overindulgence is a through line. And that's something that we, the parents, can assess, acknowledge, and begin to number one, go inside. If you listen to this channel, if you watch this channel, we're all about internal infrastructure. So You Are Exquisite is about educating your emotions, elevating your environment, and empowering your exquisite. Your exquisite referencing your spirit self, your deepest self. So exquisites have no problem flexing the muscle of going inside. That's what we do. uh, we are dedicated and devoted and designated to do the internal infrastructure within ourselves. And so this is an area that I've always been fascinated with because I was not overindulged. Okay. I overindulged myself as an adult and learned about that. Consumer spending, overconsumption is stupid. And so I can say that. I can say that out loud and publicly because it is if you overindulge. And so overindulgence of a child, what does that do to them? And what does it do to the parent who's constantly feeling the pressure, obligation, burden? You fill in the adjective to describe what that energy might be if this pertains to you, or if you have seen this in others. And again, if you find this content relevant to someone else, maybe you're not dealing with it. Maybe, maybe you're groovy and it's gravy and, you're good. But you might know someone else who is dealing with this. If you would share this information with them, that would be much appreciated. But overindulgence of a child can lead to adult issues as that child evolves. Um, and here's what the research indicates: it stunts development. So overindulgence tends to, quote, prevent learning of responsibility, self-reliance, and it delays gratification, creating a learned helplessness. Uh, it creates entitlement. Children expect everything immediately, leading to dissatisfaction and materialism. Yeah, like this never-ending, like an energy of like you can't get enough. Like as soon as you get one thing, you kind of just throw it, toss it to the side, and you're like a vacuum, and you just want to just suck up this material items, and it never fills whatever I think the intention is to fill. Uh like giving a kid a toy, fill in the blank, like to pacify them. Like the physical items become like little pacifiers. Uh, I don't know. Uh, look, this is interesting to me because I wasn't a kid that had temper tantrums. I see kids and some adults, and they will have temper tantrums. Um, that's a very odd energy. I will never forget this. This was maybe 20 years ago, and I'm in a fast food restaurant. I'm waiting in line. There's a line. Not that many people in line. There's probably maybe three people in line, and I'm the third. I'm in the back there. I'm waiting in line, and there was a little boy and his mom. He was a little guy. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5. Just real like a real little guy. And I'm waiting in line, and the mom, she's standing there. She's got her purse and everything. She had a like a shoulder bag on. She didn't have it crossbody. I mean, I remember this um like it was yesterday, and it was a good 2 decades ago, maybe a little more. And I never forgot it. I remember coming home and telling my husband about it because it was so disturbing. And the little boy, he just and he did it repetitively. He literally like swift kicked his mother in the rear. He was just, I mean, like one and a two. I mean, he just kept kicking his mother in the rear. And I'm standing there. uh, at first I was like, "What is this little motherfucker?" like, uh-uh. And I remember I said, young man, no, no. And then he pulled on his mom's like shirt jacket. She stood there. She didn't. You're standing in line at the restaurant. She didn't make any motion to correct him. She didn't say anything. She was just standing there, and I mean, I literally could not. I just could not watch him do that. I was like, young man, no, no. And then he pulls his mom's like shirt jacket, and kind of like pointed at me. But he didn't do it any longer. Like, what is that? I know I wouldn't even be alive if I if I even, if I even thought about doing that. And neither would my kid if she ever thought about doing it either. So, what is that? That I don't know what that is. I don't tolerate that. I don't do that. I don't have that around me. And what does that young man, who does that young man grow up to be? And what females in that young man's ecosystem, what do they have to put up with? I don't know. So that, how do you deal with that? I don't deal with that. But that is an energy that is very prevalent in our society. I will never forget that as long as I breathe. And he just kept kicking his mom, and she stood there like, woo. Mm-mm. 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 So, what is that? Continuing with the research, quote, poor life skills, overindulgence results in overindulgence of children and adult children, according to this research, results in continuing, and I quote, poor life skills, lack of boundaries, self control, and competence in daily tasks. Continuing, and I quote, mental health issues. Overindulgence of children and adult children can result, quoting, can result in chronic discontent, anxiety, and an ability to handle, and an inability, I'm sorry, to handle adult decisions. The child that is swift kicking his mom in the restaurant in line, and the mom does nothing. Like she's literally standing there like it's not happening. So, like, what is it about her that is unable to correct him? And does she just pacify him to make him stop doing that? And if that's not dealt with, who does he become? Or rather, who is he? Because that was some decades ago, about 2 decades ago. I never forgot it. Quoting, adult children abusing parents, often linked to past overindulgence. Continuing, and I quote, power and control. Adult children use tactics, physical, verbal, financial, and emotional, to dominate parents, sometimes stemming from childhood patterns where parents could not say no. Quote, close quote. That's wild to me. You know, I look, um, there are so many issues in regards to parenting. And parenting, as I will always say, is just the hardest job on planet Earth. And if you are not with child today, if you are watching this video or you're going to watch this video in the future, and you don't have children, let me advise you to really think about having children. Really give it some serious contemplation. Don't attach it to a romantic media inspired scenario because you saw some movie or you saw some TV show or you love a certain character that you've seen portrayed, and you're going to create a fantasy synopsis in your mind of what this romance and the house and the doggy and the kids and the kitchen and the granite countertops and the dual undermounted sinks in the owner suite bath. I know it's very easy to align and adapt to a fantasy narrative that has been, sold and marketed with a multi-million dollar advertising campaign. I know it's hard to compete with that. I get it. But let me just offer my half a cent of perspective. It's not even 2 cents. It's inflation, a half a cent. Think about it. If you do not have the resilience, if you do not have the inner fortitude, inner fortitude and strength to love, to nourish, and to discipline with loving and yet very firm boundaries, if you do not have those skills, and they are skills, Think about it. Think about all of this. Because if you are going to go through the entire sphere and paradigm of having children, including the stretch marks and the muffin top and the drop bladder, baby, I'm bringing it real. If you are going to go through all of that, then you make damn certain that that individual respects you and honors your boundaries lovingly, joyfully, and seriously. See, we put so much focus on the external. And who doesn't love fabulous external, right? We love it fabulous. I mean, the more fabulous, the better, right? I mean, we're just conditioned that way. I can own it. I love the fabulousness of everything. But clearly and definitely, that's just one slice of this pie. And it might not even be one whole slice. This pie has a multitude of slices, and the external is just one. If that, you have to have the proper mindset, and mind frame to navigate out here in these streets. And that's just for yourself. So when you start thinking about bringing little Timmy or little Emily into this world, you better know good and damn well who you are, where your boundaries are, what you tolerate, what you will not tolerate, and what you celebrate before you even think about little Timmy or little Emily or Amy. This is no joke. And buying a little toy or overindulging your little he or she to pacify them for the moment. You're not playing the game. You might think you are, but you're not addressing the seriousness of parenthood. Overindulgence is a real thing. It's a dangerous energy. Now, some children, look, you can invest in them and they're smooth. This is not every child. But in this culture of excess, phones at the fingertips, just excruciatingly insane violence, we all know what's out there. You better know what you're doing before you even think about bringing children into this mess. Continuing with the research, quote, power and control. Adult children use tactics, physical, verbal, financial, and emotional, to dominate parents, sometimes stemming from childhood patterns where the parents could not say no. Continuing, and I quote, wait a minute, how are you going to be a parent and not say no? What? How does that work? not say no. Look, you know how these cats get the tattoos? I don't have any tattoos, right? But if I was going to tattoo anything, anything on my, I don't know what, wrist or I don't know, but it would be no. Quoting complex dynamics. Quote, can involve guilt, shame, and a sense of failure for parents, making it difficult to address. Exactly. Don't nobody want to, this is not something you want to talk to, talk about at the dinner party. It's embarrassing. So you've got this kid. You gave the kid everything that you thought, you're thinking this is a good thing. Oh my God, I wanted him to have, fill in the blank because I never had it. Just because they don't have it doesn't mean they necessarily should have it, need it, or want it. I don't know. This is, like I said, this is a multifaceted issue. And I would really advise anyone dealing with this to look it up, do the research on it, go inside yourself and acknowledge if this is something that is relevant to you and your life. And begin the process. And of course it's a process. This is not light switch stuff. This is a process to acknowledge and begin to hopefully self-correct first, and then correct the environment and the ecosystem that has already been structured and put into place if it is unhealthy. Continuing, and I quote, forms of abuse includes financial control, threats, emotional manipulation, and physical aggression, all rooted in power dynamics. Which goes back to my earlier point. If you are not like doing your work, like up here, if you don't know who you are, if you see yourself through like a lens of conditioning, like we always talk about here, like a knee-jerk type conditioning where whoever you came from, whatever environment you were in, you just, without objection, just absorbed whatever that environment is and or was. And so you find yourself doing the same things that fill in the blank did. Fill in the blank did it, so you do it too. Instead of doing the interior investigation in terms of who you are, what your desires are, not desires aligned with fill in the blank, but who you are individually. I submit that people who know that have no problem saying no. And that takes a minute. You've got to, it's life, You're going to fall on your face, go through your dumb phase. Your stupid phase. Goodness gracious, are you kidding me? Like, I write about it. Hell, my phase was so stupid, I had, I created a library from it. So, like, don't just, dive in off the, dive into the deep end of the pool and you haven't researched what it is to dive in the deep end of a pool. So, like, overindulging the kid is like putting a band-aid on it or something, or just kind of like sweeping it under the, you don't want to deal with the issue. So you just give the kid fill in the blank, hope that'll pacify the kid for a little bit, so you can kind of just, get a few seconds of quiet until the kid, like goes off and, and does it again. And it's like this weird cycle. And you end up with a kid that's kicking you in the rear in the middle of a restaurant just repetitively. And you don't do anything. That was the most bizarre shit I've ever seen in my life. I swear. Where am I? Okay. Yeah. Okay. The research, continuing the link from quoting from overindulgence to abuse. When parents consistently give in, they teach children that demands will be met regardless of appropriateness, creating an expectation of control that can morph into abuse in adulthood. Right. When the parents consistently give in, they teach children that whatever the kid is demanding, that they will get it, regardless of appropriateness, creating an expectation of control that can morph into abuse in adulthood. Now, it ain't no damn way. It's a Sunday, and I'm not gonna be any more vulgar than I have been. But I could really rip it right here. So look, I wait a minute. I'm sorry. How much? Okay, no, I'm gonna wrap this up. The research goes on how to overcome overindulgence. But I'm not trying to hold you guys. But let's see. How can I say this without? You can be loving and nice and firm at the same time. But I'm not going to sacrifice firm for nice and appeasing. No, no, no. Honey. I love firm. Firm is embrace firm. We love firm. We love no. Are you kidding me? I love no. I say no to myself. I love no. No is fabulous. Learn to love to say no, honey. I don't know how you can have kids and not say no. that should be the first word they learn. No. No, I'm kidding. Kind of. Look, meet people where they are. Okay. Okay. To overcome overindulgence, okay? Because I didn't just research overindulgence. I'm like, okay, well, like, what's the resolution, right? Like, how can we self-correct, right? Like, what do we do? Quote, to overcome overindulgence, parents must set boundaries, teach responsibility through chores and earn privileges, differentiate needs from wants, allow natural consequences, focusing on teaching the skills for younger kids and fostering independence for adult children, even if they resist initially, by shifting them from too much to enough love and support. Of course, the research goes on. Teach responsibility, differentiate needs versus wants, allow natural consequences, earn privileges, use words, not things. Quoting, express love and approval through attention and praise, not material rewards to avoid materialism. For adult children, quote, name the behavior, openly discuss the patterns of overindulgence, too much over nurturing, soft structure to gain insight, set boundaries and communicate. Communicate clearly, new limits, expecting pushback, and explaining that you're fostering independence, you're not being mean. Stop rescuing. Amen. Oh, that's me. It doesn't have a amen. Continuing, quote, allow them to solve their own problems and face challenges. Don't bail them out. Quote, close quote. Amen. Mm-mm. You do it, you deal with it. That's called life. uh, the umbilical cord is cut for a reason. Let me let y'all go. This is an interesting issue. Let me know your thoughts. Um, uh, uh, See, I know, right? Right, I get that. Right? How? Seriously, I can't have this balance. Right? These are muscles that have to be worked, and it will feel weird and maybe even scary. But please, if you are grappling with this issue, take the time to research it. Um, don't continue to maintain an unhealthy paradigm. There is research out there. And again, as the research indicates and says clearly in black and white, expect the pushback. But we can talk about these things, even though they're difficult and painful. Here at You Are Exquisite, that's what we do. We talk about um, things that are quite nuanced, maybe even subliminal, so that we can educate our emotions, elevate our existence, and empower our exquisite. Work for a healthy existence for yourself and those whom you love. And always journal, um, write it out, let it out, get it out. Read. I certainly have written about my experience, and I've got another one coming up, hopefully before the end of the year. Uh, Really, in a way, kind of dealing with this, not directly, but when things are really just super jacked, like how to evolve and emerge from that. Um, we can live better, we can be better, we can do better, but we must first give ourselves permission to at least talk about these things and give ourselves permission to acknowledge them. And yes, assess the conditions and then begin the process. And it is a process of self correcting. I want to thank you guys so much for your time and indulging me with this subject, with this issue, event, and concern. Please like and share and subscribe. If this content resonates with you or someone that you know, please share it with them. You can find You Are Exquisite at YAE Woman, of course, here on YouTube and on Instagram. Um, and as always, no matter the obstacle, challenge, and or noise, always know that you are exquisite. And these are very challenging times. But we can work through these things if we choose to. No matter what, no matter who, always know you are exquisite. I'm India E. You are exquisite. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Y'all have a great rest of your Sunday. And thank you so much for joining You Are Exquisite.